What's going on, everyone? It's Mike, this old hot rod. And Sunday afternoon, I got a few more things I got to do on the 32 coupe. What I need to do is put a steering stabilizer on the car because it gets a little sketchy when you're driving it because of just all the old parts and stuff. I don't know what's on it for a steering box. It's either an F1 or an F100. But Pete had brought down steering dampener, so I got to get that installed on the car. And then I got to put on a new switch for the fuel pump because that one that's in the car is acting up. So I got to swap out that old switch, put in a new switch. And when I say new switch, I mean a new old switch. And then I got to put a license plate on the car. So if anyone's going to the Pinetree Jamboree that's watching this, we're really trying to go for that old look, obviously with the old cars, but we're really trying to recreate some old-timey photos, let's just say. So if anyone that's going to the Pinetree Jamboree that's bringing a car with them, and you have an old license plate from whatever state you're coming from, there's a 53 Massachusetts plate. That's just a really cool black plate. If you have any old plates, 1940s, 1950s, throw them on your cars when you get there. Or put them on the cars before you get there. And they'll just look cool for the old photos. So I'm going to get this plate mounted on here. I don't want to drill holes in Pete's car, but especially on a brand new piece of sheet metal. But he told me to put a plate on it, so I'm gonna have to find an old-timey plate mount or something and put a license plate on the car. So I got a few things to do, check off my list. So let's start with, I'm gonna start with a steering dampener, but maybe we'll just start with that switch. So Pete had said, hey, I got a bunch of switches and stuff. If you need any, let me know. So he just brought these down. So I'm gonna go through and see what I can come up with, what I can find to use in this box of switches. Plus I have some switches myself that we could use. So I'm gonna figure out what switch I'm gonna use, then I'll get back to you guys. So we got a few switches. I'll figure out which one's gonna work best. Let's see what this switch is all about. Alright. So this is the switch that's in question. Pete said it's acting up. And I don't want to run into any issues when I'm going down the track and the fuel stops. Let me grab a pair of pliers and then get this switch out so I can see how it's wired. All right, so I just popped this little switch out. I gotta grab a flathead screwdriver, get these terminals off, the wires off the terminals. So I'll show you what was going on with this switch. You just thread this little knob back on. So it was working. You can hear the fuel pump kicking on. But sometimes, Pete had said, sometimes if you pull it out, it wasn't kicking the fuel pump on. So he asked to buy a time if I could switch it out. So naturally I said, yeah. So that's what I'm gonna do. I told him it hasn't acted up since I've had the car, but I still like to get it taken care of. He's nice enough to let me borrow the car. Least I could do is fix a few things that need to be done. All right, so the old switch is undone. Let me go grab one of the new ones. I have the choice of these three. I think I'm gonna use the white one and I'm gonna write fuel on it. Hopefully Pete's okay with that. Now I don't know if these individual poles are different polarities. And I'm hoping that these screws will fit the holes in these posts. So I also need to check the alignment on this car. And I'm just gonna do that with a tape measure. I think there's a rule of thumb. It's like 3/8 of an inch, I believe is, whoop, here we go. Needs to be wider by 3/8 of an inch in the rear. I think that's what I was told at one point. Alright, so that was quick and easy. I need to write fuel on this, so let's go do that. That'll be something different. I'm not a pinstriper by any means, but as I was saying, I'm not a pinstriper, but I think I can pull this off. Let's see. Pete doesn't care, so very carefully, gently put that in my vise and then rotate my vise down. I'm right-handed, so I kind of can't really do it on the other side of my vise. I'm gonna grab some acetone and clean this knob off. Clean your knob, for Christ's sake. Clean your knob. Got a dirty knob. Not gonna impress anyone with a dirty knob. You know? Well, careful. It's goose season up here in Massachusetts. You guys watching this? So I'm probably gonna end up having to redo it. Fun. I can write fun, but I don't have enough room to write fuel. So I gotta redo it and write fuel. All right, so I gotta write it smaller. I don't have my glasses. That's what I need, is my glasses. Kinda looks like fuel. Still a little big. You guys think of that? I mean, it would get the job done, but I'm gonna redo it. That's my middle line. You know what? I think if I were to write it sideways, I'll have more room. All right, guys, I'm going into business, pinstriping. Guys need anything done, you let me know. Hit me up. Mike at thisoldhotrod@gmail.com. Get your orders in. Something going on with my phone. All right, fuel. So, I think that's good enough. What else can I pinstripe? You think he would mind? Actually, I could have wrote fuel on the panel. You know what? Let's do that instead. I'm gonna wipe this off now. All right, so I'm gonna redo it now. So instead of me lettering the knob, I'm gonna letter the panel that the switch is on. Oh, gooses. How's that look? Whoop! I pinstriped the steering wheel by mistake. I think I could do better. Yeah. I'm gonna start here. Yeah. I have an awkward position. Alright, that's pretty good. So fuel, and then on this one, I think on this switch over here, I'm gonna put start, or on, off. I guess start, or ignition, IGN. We'll do start. All right, guys, not a pinstriper, remember that. Ugh. Need more paint. I'm not sure if Pete will like it or not, but that's what it looks like. The A is a little wonky. And that's an old race car, so I think he'll be okay with it. I'm gonna write tornadoes here. I just think it'll look cool with the brighter red on top of the dull red. Hopefully he won't mind. Alright guys, I couldn't really film because I was using my phone to look at the Tornadoes logo for the car club. Well, not the logo, but just the words. So on the dash you can see I wrote Tornadoes Car Club. So that's what I was working on. I got fuel and start. The start didn't come out the greatest, but that's okay. I don't think he's really gonna care, and I don't think he watches these videos, so he probably isn't gonna see it until he sees it in person. And by then it's too late. So that's all the liberties I'm gonna take on this car, because again, it's not my car, and Pete's generous enough to let me race it at the Pinetree Jamboree. He told me do whatever I want. He said, I don't care what you do, you can paint whatever you want on the car, but I just don't feel okay with it, so. But I want to measure and check for the alignment. So I'm gonna put a tape measure on the front edge of the tire to the inside edge of the tire, and then I'll check on the back and then see what the differences are. I was told a while ago that the measurement should be roughly 3/8 of an inch shorter for the toe in on the front versus the back. So let's take that measurement real quick and see what we end up with. I'm gonna set you down right here. So I'm at 31. I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to measure the back. So you get the motor in the way. So I guess go under the motor. Under the motor, on top of the wishbone. I don't know. I would imagine this is a two-person job. 51 and about 3/4. 51 and 3/4 versus 51. So it's got quite a bit of toe in, so I'm going to adjust it. I'm going to pull these, I'm going to tighten up the tie rod a few turns. Wow, there's not much adjustment. I got a little bit of adjustment, not much. So I'm going to show you where my adjustment is for the tie rod. Right there, that nut. So I gotta back this nut off on the passenger side and the driver's side. Then I gotta grab some vice grips or a monkey wrench or a pipe wrench and spin the tie rod. And depending on which way I rotate the tie rod will determine whether the wheel goes out or in. So let me loosen up these lock nuts on both sides and get these adjusted. Like 15/16, I think. So this should be, I think, roughly like I had said, the difference of about 3/8 of an inch. All right, so this is my left hand. Boy, I may end up having to cut this tie rod. All right, we got a little bit more adjustment on this side. So let me go grab a monkey wrench or a pipe wrench, which I have here. I'm gonna take another measurement and see. That probably moved about 1/4 of an inch, which is close to what I needed it to move. So let me take another measurement. So I was at 51 on the front and 51 3/4 on the back. So I want to be about 51 1/4. No. Yeah. That's exactly what I am. Go a little bit more. Probably as far as I'm going to get it. It is. So that's as far as I'm going to get it with the length of this tie rod as it is. I think that should help it. Yeah, 51.5. So that brought it in 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to lock these nuts back up. All right, so that was a quick little adjustment, so that's good. So now I need to add the steering stabilizer. So I'll go back over again what exactly it is I'm gonna do, what I'm using, where it's from, and why I'm using it. Isn't that how you're supposed to do these videos? All right, steering stabilizer. See the size of this thing? Super small, really slim. Thing's not even 1 inch around. Has a heim joint on this end. The lock nut, as you can see, these little tabs here to weld onto the edge side of the wishbone, and this clamp mounts onto the tie rod itself. So this steering dampener comes from Pete and Jake's. Pete and Jake's, who knows where they get them from, but this is essentially a Volkswagen Beetle steering dampener or steering stabilizer. What I need to do is I need to make sure that I pull it out all the way, and I need to measure this total distance. So this total distance is 6 inches. So now what I need to do is I need to push it in 3 inches. I want it to be half the distance. You want it right in the center. All right. So that's my center point. So I'm going to put a piece of tape on it or let's, you know what? I'll just make a mark with a Sharpie because I don't know if I have any tape. Mark. So it's lined up just with the end of this dampener, the actual tubing of it, tube itself. Oop, goose, hit the goose. Whoa. Now I need to put a sanding disc on it, a flap disc, and get the inside edge of the driver's side wishbone cleaned up, because that's where I'm going to weld these tabs. I'm going to weld these tabs too. Grab some gloves and my shield. Thank you to everybody who's been ordering products or merchandise from the website. I just shipped out a bunch of packages the other day. I've been a little slow on shipping some of them out recently, just because I've been leaving early at work and getting home late every day, and the post office has been closed. So I apologize for anybody that's been waiting for any packages. Work has just been, or real life has just been craziness. But they're on their way, I promise. And usually what I do is anyone that I drag my feet on shipping, I usually throw in a couple extra goodies, extra stickers, maybe something else. So hopefully it'll be worth your while. Let's get these wishbones cleaned up, or this inside of the driver's side wishbone cleaned up real quick. All right, you guys couldn't see what I was doing, I apologize. But I was just cleaning up the inside edge of that wishbone. What I need to do now is get the steering dampener situated in place, get it mounted to the tie rod, and get those tabs bolted back onto the end. Okay, so I'm getting this mount situated under the car. So I slid on that little clamp, and that clamp bolts to this like that. And then once this is on, I'll be able to figure out exactly where these tabs are going to line up with the inside edge of the driver's side wishbone. And then I'll get those tacked in place and then welded in place once they're all set. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, I've never mounted one of these before. Oh, I think I got a coolant leak. I'll grab a couple of wrenches to tighten that up. Just to snug it up a little bit. I don't want it so tight that I can't move it, but I need it tight enough so it's going to stay in place when I need it to get it set where it's going to go. That, I think, is where I'm going to mount that. So what I'm going to do is go grab a pencil or a Sharpie and get it marked. Make sure these are all nice and cleaned up, because it looks like there's, yeah, just I want to clean them up with the flap disc real quick. I'm going to clean this up a little better now that I'm underneath here and can kind of see it. Tighten these up. Just to keep them from flopping around a little bit. All right, let's get the welder fired up. Cool like I know you should. Blowing a smile, that's one of a kind. Alright guys, so I got the steering dampener mounted, welded in place. Everything's all set. Let's see, it's mounted directly above it. Looking down, you can't see the tie rod under it, so I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, but in my brain, That's how it should work. So just gonna hit it real quick with a little bit of black spray paint and call that a done project. So I got a radiator leak. I see some water leaking down there on the floor, so I'm gonna have to see if I can find the source of that leak before we leave next week. Oh, this, I'm just gonna add that project to my ever-growing list. I just checked the hoses, tightened up the hoses. I'm gonna give it a quick once over and see. Hopefully there's nothing major wrong. All right, guys, so that's it for me working on the 32 for today. This afternoon, I'm gonna get to work on the trailer. All right, guys, workbench is a mess. So what did I end up doing today on the 32? This is the second day I've kind of picked away at a few of the items. I did the steering dampener. That's all set. I fixed the fuel pump switch, or replaced the fuel pump switch with another old switch. I also did a little bit of writing with paint, and I spelt the word right, so that's cool. Got the fuel switch, we got the start switch, or the key. We ended up doing the seat bottom, the track. I did the floor pans, which Pete said they came out so good, he thinks he's just gonna leave them in there. And then I got the plate mounted. So that license plate, this bracket, the light, and the frame actually came off the 34 coupe. So, George, if you're watching, that's your hard work right there. I'm taking that with me to Maine to race at the Pinetree Jamboree. I didn't want to drill any holes in Pete's car back here below the deck lid. So George had clearly thought the same thing at the time he built the 34, because he bent this little piece of aluminum and was able to hang the plate from underneath the car. So that's how it'll be on the 34 when it's all said and done. And that's how it is on the 32 for now. So I'm going to pull this thing out of the garage. And what I need to do now, even though it's starting to kind of get a little dark, unfortunately, I need to start figuring out exactly what I'm going to do to be able to mount some ramps, or to put some ramps on this. So this thin tin here, you can see it's got a thick bumper underneath it. There's heavy steel under it. I'm going to measure the width of the wheelbase and cut this tin out of here, access the thick metal bumper, and then I need to build out some type of a support so I can hook my ramps on, because my ramps have like a little hook on them, so they can hook on, and then I can get the car up into the trailer. So I'm gonna pull the coupe out of the garage. I'm gonna back the trailer up so I can reach it from the building with the cords that I have, and then I'm gonna remove a section of that tin on either side, and making sure that the doors will still close. So I need to keep it closer to the bottom. So clearly you can see somewhere around here, I'm gonna have to cut that tin off of there. So that's my next project. But for now, I just gotta get this 32 out of the building. He was riding his bicycle around. I think he might be in the house right now. He was outside for a while. That car is so cool. I don't even need to start it. It's like a Prius. Oop, goose. Hit the goose. Whoa.